My husband has made a Viking costume over the last few years, and he wore it to our trip to Iceland. Not the entire time, I might add, just for specific photo ops in certain locations. And I thought it would be fun to make my own costume to go with his, especially since we want to go to a couple of Ren Fairs this year, and I thought it would be a great idea if we could both have the same sort of look when we went together. So I'm going to start with the Viking dress, or the underdress, and I've procured some linen fabric to make the dress with. Eventually I'd like to have the apron dress and the necklace bit that comes around and the brooches and everything. But I thought I would start with this as a good base layer and go from there. So I have some linen fabric that is sort of like an off-white. It's unbleached, I guess. It is not bleached. And I'm gonna start with that as like an undergarment and make a dress out of that. But I also want to dye some other linen fabric, blue color, and make another dress with that as well. So then I'll have two, and then the apron dress is made out of wool. So we'll need to get some wool for that. So I've looked up a few different patterns for a medieval Viking dress, and this one is from Medieval Musgrave. I'll link her blog down below so that you can go follow those instructions as well. They were really well laid out for how to make this dress. And it's not necessarily a pattern per se, but you start by measuring your body and then making pieces from that. I just really liked how she explained it compared to some of the other posts and patterns we've seen, beyond purchasing a pattern, which you can do as well, and then printing out the pieces. So this will give me the opportunity to measure myself, and then I'm going to make some pattern pieces so I can use them in the future. And I also will be making a mock-up for this. Something I should have done before on other projects, but this one, definitely going to be making a mock-up. You need your full bust divided by 2. Even though I am Canadian and we use metric, I'm Canadian, so we use mixed measurements, imperial and metric. I find it easier to do inches, but I will also write down the millimeters. Sometimes I just need an accurate measurement, so I often write both, which is also weird. Excusez-moi. I'm not going to tell you what these are. The first measurement you're going to need is your bust divided by 2, because you'll make 2 pieces, a front and back piece, that are the width of your bust divided by 2. Next measurement you need is shoulder to floor. So shoulder to floor. I have dropped this down and stepped on it. We're going to say 60 inches. If it's too long, I can hem it, but let's go with 60 inches. And we're going to do shoulder to wrist, which I'm assuming is top of shoulder to wrist. Shoulder to wrist. Bicep circumference. So this is going to be the width of your sleeve. I'll use my bigger arm. And waist to floor. Awkwardly measures herself. Now that we have all of our measurements, I am going to cut apart some bed sheets and make a mock-up. Let us away to the cutting table. So I've pinned up the one side of this. I did sew down the other side of the skirt there. I just mainly want to make sure that the length is going to be correct and the top part is going to fit okay. The length is good. The width across here, but this needs to be wider. I'm glad we did this because I feel like I could add an inch. That would have been a lot of linen fabric that I would have just wasted. Might be stuck in this. Oh, it's so tight I can't even get it off there. Well, that was a learning experience and one I'm glad I did. So I'm gonna change some of the measurements just slightly and I think then it'll be good. Okay, day 2 because, well, that's just the way it's working out. I've decided to take the pieces and pattern them onto paper, and then I'll at least have something that I can trace around quickly for when doing the dresses out of my linen fabric. I've remeasured myself to get more accurate measurements. I've given myself a little bit of leeway for sizing and changed a couple of the measurements just so that it'll fit me a little bit better in the arm, around the bicep, and in the bust area because that was pretty tight and I'm pretty broad across my shoulders and my arms. So I'm hoping that this will work out and fit. I have Christmas wrap that has a grid on the back of it and the grids are 1 inch by 1 inch. So that's going to be super helpful. And then I can just cut them out, put them on my linen, trace around it, cut it out. It'll be so much faster. So I almost didn't want to do this because it was going to take me extra time to cut out the patterns on the paper. However, I think it's going to save me a lot of time in the long run, especially if I ever want to make one of these again out of a different material. Now that I have all of my pattern pieces cut out, I can use these to mark and cut out my fabric. My expensive linen fabric. Fingers crossed for me. I'm really not sure how this is going to work out, and I'm really hoping I didn't mess something up, because knowing me, I probably did. Now that I have all of my pattern pieces cut out of the linen fabric, it is time to sew them together. But it's also time for Pam to take a little break because, oh, I'm tired and I'm warm and I need something to drink. Fingers crossed that I did it correctly and that I didn't just waste a whole bunch of linen fabric. It's time to sew the dress. I'm nervous because I don't want to mess it up, and I feel like there is a good chance that I will mess it up. So wish me luck, because I'm going to need it. The first step we're going to do is take the long pieces of the dress, so the front and the back, and sew them together at the shoulder. If it actually goes over my head, if it actually goes over my head, I almost said shoulders. I'm going to test it to see if it actually goes over my head. Perfect. Size is better too. I came in about 5 inches, but depending on how, 5.5. I did 5.5 inches across on each shoulder. But depending on how wide your piece is, that I only figured out from doing the mock-up and trying to figure out how big my head was, how big I would need for my head. So the next step is to take these underarm pieces and attach them to the sleeve pieces. So you take one end of your sleeve piece and this underarm piece and stitch them across at this corner. So then once you've attached it on that side, I'm going to take this edge and attach it over here. Then you have this triangle bit in the sleeve, and then the next step is to take and sew up the rest of the sleeve seam. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now that I have both sleeves sewn up, I'm going to attach them to the body of the dress. When your dress piece is inside out, so my seams are on the outside here, if you turn your sleeve right side out, so your seams of your sleeve are on the inside, and then you can stick that inside of your dress. It's helpful. It's got big gaping holes down the side of it. So that the right side, so the outside, right side, and the right side are going to be facing each other. So right side and right side. And then you pin it like this. And then sew it up. So your wrong sides are technically on the outside, even though it's a loop. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we have a sleeve. So because this is pointed at the bottom, I had to come down and stop and turn and go up. Hey guys, we have sleeves. I'm gonna do a quick try on. Virtualize. Well, I think I actually got the sizing correct this time. So that's exciting. Yay! Doesn't feel too tight. I still need to cut in the neckline, but the last little bit is to sew up the gores at the bottom onto here to create the rest of the dress. I think I made my length a little too long. Probably didn't have to be 60 inches, but I'm gonna sew in the side bits so that it fits across there. And then I like a long sleeve, so I got lots of room to play with, so that's good. Now I have to try to get it off me without ripping it. Touched. They're not evening out for me. So I'm gonna do one side and then I'll pin the other side. When I try to pin up from the bottom on the opposite side, which will be the front or the back side of the skirt, I end up with like a little extra fabric here. So I think it's just the way that my pattern pieces got cut, that their sides of the triangle were not even or equal. So I am going to sew this one side and then repin down this side. I have it sewn together. The only thing I haven't done is cut the neckline and hemmed the neckline, hemmed the end of the sleeves, and obviously the bottom. So I have everything on. I had a little bit of an issue with the shaping of the gores, but I tried to piece them on roughly the same, so they didn't quite match up at the bottom here. The back, they're even, but the front, not so much. Like, they're not the same length from front to back. I'm not sure really what happened, but it's okay because the whole thing is way too long anyway. So I can just trim the bottom and make it even, and then it should be good. But let's try it on. It is really long. It's too long, so I need to hem that up. But other than that, I think it's really good. Now I have 2 dresses sewn up. I have one on my mannequin here. The next step I need to do is add the neckline, hem the sleeves, trim a bit off the bottom and hem the bottom, and also hem the neckline as well. So that's what I'm going to work on for both of these. So I'm at the same stage for both dresses. And then this one I'm going to end up dyeing blue once I'm finished doing everything with it. That is my dog. And don't mind my toque, I'm just really cold right now. We have like the flu in our house. I don't have it yet, but my head is just really cold. I'm cold in general. I'm in the basement, so I'm putting a toque on to try to stay a little warmer because I'm freezing. Basically draw a semicircle around and then make a 2-inch slit down this way. So I'm going to roughly draw out my neckline. You're supposed to do it while you're wearing it, but I don't want to. I have it on my mannequin and my mannequin is sized to me and roughly my height. I need to find the center. I think the sleeve length's good. I think the neckline is really good. My length is, I'll show you. There, and that's with cutting 4 inches off. I think I'm going to take the unfinished seams on the inside here. And I wasn't sure what to do with them because they're fraying, the linen is fraying. And I know sometimes people take and they hand stitch them down. So I think I might just take my pinking shears around the edge and hopefully that'll prevent it from fraying further. Overall, I'm happy with how this turned out. I think the white dress that I still need to hem, I think with this one, what I might do is make it 1 inch shorter than this one. This one I took off 4 inches of fabric on the bottom. This one I might do 5 inches and just bring it up a little bit more. I just don't want it to drag on the ground if I'm out walking around outside, and I feel like this one's definitely going to drag a little bit. And if I took off a little bit more fabric, then that would be perfect. And the magic of editing, you're not gonna even know that it took me half a day or however long to finish this one off. It'll just be done. Like, second dress is now complete. It is shorter than the other one. I'll show you. So it's not going to drag on the ground. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim up some of the seams on the inside using my pinking shears, and then I'm going to dye this one blue. Apparently when dyeing linen, you need a teaspoon of dish soap and salt. Oh no! Hold on. And then we submerge. My whole bin just fell down in here. It was sitting on top nicely, but because of the weight of the water, it has gotten pulled down inside the tub. The color is really nice already. Then you let it sit and you stir it continuously for a half an hour. Oh, what are you doing? Do you want to see the peoples? Yeah, there. You can see the peoples. I hope you enjoyed this video. This has been the first part of my medieval Viking costume, and this is the underdress or the serk. I will be making the apron dress to go over it as well. I also would really love just to make tunic and pants and have the leg wraps, and eventually hopefully do some turn shoes and everything else that goes with it. So then Justin and I can look extra cool when we go to some Ren Fairs this year. This video is taking me a little bit longer to get out because 3/4 of us in the house have gotten sick, and I'm on the tail end of it, and I still sound like garbage. Although I believe when watching through the footage of this, I kind of sounded like garbage at the beginning too. I feel like something was hidden and I just hadn't realized it yet. So hopefully we're kind of on the tail end. The cough is terrible and it's sticking around for a bit and it's just wiping us right out. So this has taken me much longer than I wanted to get this video out. I was hoping to have it out last week, but then I got the flu, so gonna put a damper to my plans. If you want to see how I made a Viking hood that is probably way too hot to wear with this garment at a summertime Ren Fair, watch this video next. My name is Pam and this is Total Pamurky. Until next time, bye.